Alright, hello and welcome to something a little bit different. Now today, I'm going to do a more relaxed and laid back kind of discussion, not so much about the game itself, but about being a player of the game, which is something I haven't done before, but it's something that's been on my mind a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it here. So basically, this is going to be covering a lot of stuff that I think that has personally happened to me and that I've personally seen and follow and things like that in my own experience that I think could also apply to other players who have anxiety and things like that. Just in general, not even for the game, just in general, because I have it about literally everything. So of course that carries over to the game. So this is just going to be one for, I think, for anyone new getting into the game or that struggles with worrying and anxiety and things like that while playing the game. So the first thing that I really want to cover is especially if you're new, you're going to lose a lot. Whenever I was new, I lost to everything under the sun, from Fire Fist to Shaddolls to BA, everything. I remember I saw him to Dante the first time I read it, and they plussed off it. It's crazy. There's just a factor where you're gonna lose, and you have to accept that even whenever you keep going, even when you've been playing for like however many years, you're good at it, all this. We're all gonna lose sometimes at it. Look at all the really big players. They all have their wins and losses too. But the important part is to learn why you're losing or why you're winning and fix it. So if you lose, it's important to look at it and go, oh man, here's what I did wrong. Here's what they were doing. They knew what I were gonna do. They countered what I was gonna do. I didn't see it. Or when you win, to look at it and go, oh man, I did this. They didn't see that coming. That's what got me the game. It's important to identify those moments and really follow those, because those are the moments that are going to help you learn. I know the only reason I'm anything at this game is because I got my shit pushed in for so long. For like a year, I just got whooped up on, like, eternally. And that's the only reason I'm anything at this game, because I had all those mistakes, all those misplays, everything, and I was able to look at those and learn what I was doing wrong and get better from there. So losing is actually a very important part of actually learning the game. Now, for the longest time when I started playing, I know I didn't really look at why I lost or why I won and things like that. I would just play the game, I would just go through my plays that I always did every time, one trick pony kind of thing, and then I'd lose. It was whatever. I wouldn't look at what I was doing and say, oh, I could have done this better or that better. I would just look at what I was doing and say, I did what I do and I lost, whatever. And then once I kind of broke out of that habit and actually really started looking at things, it really helped, because like the biggest example was I played Shaddolls for I think 2 to 3 hours straight with Battling Boxers, and I didn't win a single game the entire time. I mean like 2 hours straight. This matchup, I didn't do shit. I didn't get anything right. And for the longest time, for a little bit, I thought of it as like, oh well, his deck's just better. What am I gonna do? And that is a factor of it, but there's also, you have to look at your own plays. You have to look at everything and know that this game is like a chess match. It's not a chess match in the sense that we each start with the same pieces and equal, everything there. But it's a chess match in the sense of you have to try and look what your opponents do. You have to know what you're gonna do. You have to plan ahead. You have to think ahead. You have to look at every possible outcome and choose the best one from there. And that's something I never did whenever I was first starting into the game, or whenever I was losing all the time. I never looked through everything. I just went, this is a play I could do, and I kind of went with it. But when you really sit down and obviously it takes time. It takes a while to get used to, and you can't, as a new player, it's just hard to do because you can't think through everything yet. You don't know everything yet, so you don't really have enough time to do it. You're going to get like time called or something on you. But once you get to a point where you know everything, you know enough, and you can think through that really helps. So it kind of helps to think of it, it's a back and forth. It's a game of prediction of there's chance and there's skill, but there's prediction. There's a lot that goes into the game, and it's just something you pick up with time and experience, really. Another thing that I'm really bad with is letting your mistakes snowball. It's very important not to do that. Now, a good example of this was Locals, I think, 3 weeks ago. I've been playing for 2 years now, and I still make misplays and mistakes and everything. And I'm trying to get better with it, and I have gotten a lot better with it, especially in the past year, but I'm still getting there. Now, I was playing against True Draco with Cosmo, and he summoned a Masterpiece, made it unaffected by monsters and traps with a diagram up, so I couldn't swing over it. And in my head, I'm like, man, I gotta get a Raigeki. That's all I can do. So I started tin canning wildly, like just shotgunning tin cans out there and deck thinning, doing everything I could to deck thin to try and get to my one Raigeki. But eventually, you know, the game carried on and went to time and everything. I was, you know, down life points, and it hits me that, like, obviously, you know, like I summoned out, like, I forget what I was doing. I summoned a Slip Rider. I didn't pop the diagram. Like, I messed up all the stuff. I had a mojo, and I looked at it, and I went, man, I could have, like, mojoed the diagram, then summoned something out, and then tried to get a ship, like a Strawberry and bring back one of the ships. There were all these options that I wasn't thinking about, these things that I could have done that I wasn't doing. And once I realized all these mistakes and saw everything, I just kind of gave up. Like, I saw plays that were there, but I was like, I can't do this, and I just kind of let it go and scooped and went, you know, you got it. And it's important not to do that. Now, it's extremely hard once you know, realize all these mistakes and you look at everything you've been doing wrong. It's hard to keep going. That's something just that applies to everything, but it's something that you really have to do. You have to keep trying to push through it, because if you keep trying to push through it, if you recover, it's going to help you a lot more than just giving up, because then you're in even more of a disadvantage, so it's even harder, so you're going to learn even more. But that's something, I think that's something that's definitely very important. And another thing I notice I'll do is I'll think through the plays, I'll think through everything that could happen, everything they could do, everything I think they have, everything I know I have, and I'll look at everything and I'll go, all right, this works. And I'll go to do it and I'll forget something very simple at the beginning. So it's just important to, once you know your plan, once you think everything through, you know what you're going to do, just do a quick double check to make sure you didn't leave anything out, because I know I'll always forget something very simple at the beginning that'll come back to bite me. Also, something else very important is to realize that it's not always anything you did. Even if you think it is, sometimes it's just a matchup or luck or things like that. Now, I don't want to say that this game's entirely luck-based, and if you lose, just blame it on luck, your opponent drew better than you did, but there is a factor of luck in matchups to it. Now, an example of this is last week I was playing Fairy Tail Stun, which is like Wind Witches and Kaijus and Luna, against Paleozoic, and I was playing that, and Paleozoic is an awful matchup for that. They can just banish my Crystal Wing with Dynamiscus. You know, I'm just running into back row. They can Book a Moon my Lunas and chain this. They're making Toads. They have negates. So I made a Crystal Wing every time and just got outed by a searchable banish every time. They're unaffected by monster effects. It's just an awful matchup for me. And even though it sucks to have that loss, and you're like, man, I wish I could have won that. Sometimes you just have to realize that there's nothing you could do. Even if you played everything out and right and perfectly, you just weren't gonna get it. And that happens sometimes. And it sucks, but the important thing is to, you know, look back at everything, look back at your plays, everything you knew, everything you thought about, and go, I still did everything right. I played this the best I could. It just wasn't gonna happen this time, and there's nothing I could do about it. And even if you don't win, you still did everything the best you could, which still means something, and it's still a very important step to growing in the game. Another big thing in this game is knowledge. Obviously, getting back into the game, there's a lot of rulings. This game has, you know, the difference between a semicolon and a colon or a comma, activations, this and that, cost. Little things can make big differences, and it's hard to know those as a new player. And even, you know, as someone who's been playing for a while, sometimes you don't realize everything. But it's important to actually ask, and I know I do this. There will be things where I'll go, man, I might be able to do this, but I don't know. And instead of asking and, you know, thinking I'll look stupid, I'll just let it go and make a, you know, a worse play and go and things like that. But it's you know, it's better to ask and know for next time than to just never do it, because that, you know, that could be the one thing that gets you the game, that wins you an event, that tops you somewhere, you know. And you want to ask before it's too late, like in casual play or at a locals or something like that. And that's going to happen. You know, no matter how long you've been playing, there are going to be things where you're not going to know. You're going to have to ask. You know, even judges can't agree on rulings all the times. Just remember that it's better to know and look like you don't for a second than to always look like you don't. Also, now moving on to more of the events side of the things. That for the longest time, in 2 years of playing, I'd only gone to 2 events, and they were 2 regionals, both with Infernoids. And that is something that really set me back for the longest time in the game. I wouldn't play locals or go to any events. Like, there were a whole bunch where I was like, oh, I'm sick, I can't go, even though I wasn't sick, and things like that, just because I was nervous about these events. I didn't want to go. You know, there were only these 2 that I went to in all of like 2 years. And again, that really set me back, because I could have been going to events and learning and playing these high-level competitive games, and learning what it's like to be in an event and things like that. But instead, I was just kind of sitting back and watching from a distance and not actually gaining anything from it. And events can be intimidating. Even at locals can be intimidating, especially when you get back into the game and see like how crazy it might have been since the last time you were there, or you're just getting back into it. It can be a very intimidating experience, but it's important to just go for it. Most players, if you tell them you're new, if you tell them you're still learning, or you haven't gone to events before and you're nervous about it, you might misplay for that. If you explain it, most players will be nice about it and try to help you. But like obviously I've seen some people who started off with a YCS, and that's a little bit drastic, but it's important to get a background in events. Or, just go start at your locals, move up from there, play for a few weeks. Maybe there's a regional coming up, you can go to that, get some experience there. And really the best way to get ready for them is through experience. Even, I've been playing locals for a little bit now, and I'll still get nervous before matches. I'll be like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom between every match because I just get really nervous and things like that. And I'll be sitting there, I'll be like shaking, I don't know what to do. And the only way I've found to make it better is to just keep doing it. Because every time I play, it gets better and better. It's easier and easier. It's less weight on me the whole time I'm playing. It's just easier to really play and compete whenever you're used to it. And that's the biggest thing, is just getting used to it. And it's the same with this entire game. You just have to get experience with it. And another thing that kind of goes along with that is to make it easier to going to events and stuff, is to go with people with friends, even if they're people you just know from this game and all you talk about is this game. Hell, that'll only help you even more because you're just learning more about the game. But going with people or friends can really take the pressure off. You can have like a home base there. You're not sitting alone in between rounds. You have people to go back to. You're talking. It'll keep you relaxed and generally will make it a more enjoyable experience. And that's most of what I could think of for this video. But just remember, at the end of the day, it's just a stupid game. And I say it's just a stupid game, even though to me this game means a whole lot. This game is something I really do find some validation in. Obviously, I have a whole channel for it. There's almost 1,400 people watching me at this point, because it's something I take very seriously, and I get this validation in. It's something I think I'm good at, and so when you lose, it can feel really disheartening. It can feel like, oh man, I'm crap. I can't even do good at this game. Things like that. I'll have so many nights like that where I'll just lose like straight out of the gate, lose at locals, come home like, I'm bad, I can't even do this, what else could I do? Just remember, it's a game. There's skill, but there's luck, and there's chance, and there's different barriers to entry. Different decks have, different strong suits. You're playing against different people with different backgrounds, with different experience levels. And there's so many factors going into this game that sometimes you just can't help it. And this really all just comes back together to say it is just a game. And although it is something that I know is very important to me, it's important to remember that it isn't everything. Even though it feels like it can be, especially like I know. There's a lot of nights where I felt like this is all I have. And it's just, it's got really weird. I wasn't expecting to go in this weird of a direction, and I really don't have an answer. I really don't have anything else to add on to the end, past saying sometimes it feels like this is all I have. But there's also more than just playing the game. There's the people you meet, there's the experiences, there's the learning, there's so much more that goes into this game than just playing it. And that's all a factor too. And I think that kind of feels like a right note to leave off on. That through everything that kind of sucks with this game, at all times it feels like it's ass and you don't know what you're doing and you misplay and you fuck up and it feels like shit. At the end of the day, you can still meet people, you can still make friends, and I have some of my best friends I've ever met through this game. I have a Discord, I'm meeting people on there, I'm meeting you guys, talking to you guys. And this game, at the end of the day, can really be something great for all of us. And I didn't plan this ending at all, but goddamn, I think it worked out really well. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.